Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cycle, a visual novel by... Oh, I guess I shouldn't say by. More, published? Distributed? Whatever the proper verbiage is. A game under the name Domino Club. Domino Club, as I understand it, is this sort of a loose, like a loose art collective on itch.io who have like internal visual novel jams every once in a while, and then they all just dump them in these big collections, waiting for anyone to enjoy, and they all seem very much like up my alley, in my sort of wheelhouse of things that I vibe with and enjoy a lot. And it's also very weird for me recording this video right now because I don't have any headphones on. I'm just talking directly into the microphone because this game is completely silent. It's just a bunch of HTML pages. And it's called Cycle. That's all I know about it. I hope I clipped... I hope I turned off Capture Cursor. Oh, right here. You can see Cycle by Slipperman. That's the person who wrote this. And it was, I guess I should say published under Domino Club. Vires, acquirit, eundo. I never took Latin. Let's begin. Ahem. I don't know how long this is, but I know it's going to be very interesting read. The digital sort of dot matrix art, like pointillism style, really caught my attention, and people were fucking raving about it in the comments. Oh, so let's just begin, shall we? My grandfather was a coal miner. He would occasionally tell stories about the mines, but I was too young to really understand what he meant when he described the low hum of the earth, the suffocating presence of several thousands of metric tons of rock above and below you, the shivering warmth of your fellow men, cooped up by the dozens in an elevator as you descend deeper and deeper into the dark. Oh my god. Yeah, that's exactly what was happening here. Look at this fucking guy operating the lift. Jesus Christ. Yeah, mining is super safe. Very safe profession, I hear. Oh man. You're contracted to go underground to extract something precious from underground, and you leave something else equally precious underground. Christ, that's a really fucking deep shaft. Or maybe we're looking up. Either way, it's bad. One of the few things I vividly remember about my grandfather's stories is how he'd exclusively refer to the tunnels as entrails. How oddly it struck me. Does he mean the mineral oozes? Didn't people make these tunnels? Well, I mean, yeah, but also tunnels and stuff like that are very... there's a lot of people who describe like caves and tunnels and mines like this as like their own like living being. Granted, poetic license, of course, a la Anatomy. You know, it's very... They act very much like entrails. I can see what he's talking about. He retired in the 80s when they closed the last mine, a few years after a coal dust explosion that killed 20 workers, most of them young men brought in as part of a state incentive to reopen coal mines to boost the economy after the petrol crises in the 70s. It was the worst disaster in the history of coal mining in the region. After 2 centuries of extraction, the veins had dried up. My grandfather said that after generations of blood, sweat, and piss as offerings, the entrails were finally satiated. That's a very, very happy-looking, hard-working man, I say. Oh, bottom of the page. Got it. Page 2. Every large city has an equally large underground system. Sewers, service tunnels, air raid shelters, and bunkers. Most of those are ones most people will never see. Then there's the other ones. Car parks, underground railways, and their underground stations. Your basement, if your building has one. I have a friend, well, she's more of a friend of a friend, who tells me about work. She's an archaeologist, and she works with the city, with the company that's building the new big railway tunnel. The new big railway tunnel will make the trains run even more on time. The new big railway tunnel will swallow up even more people every day from one of its many mouths, and regurgitate them elsewhere in the city. I assume shards of pottery. Only centimeters wide though, and that's interesting. My friend works with the city to make sure they don't destroy anything of value when they dig the tunnel. She laughs and says the city's heritage becomes of value only once someone bothers to dig it up, apparently. I laugh as well. I think about my grandfather, the mines, the coal. I think about the entrails. The warm tunnels. The low hum of the earth. The becoming darkness pierced only by headlamps. I neck the rest of my beer and ask her, "Do you ever find some fucked up shit? Human remains? Worse?" My friend tells me no, they don't, and even if they did, she wouldn't tell me about it. So I say, "Come on, what's the most fucked up shit you ever found?" "No," she says, "sorry, I can't tell you. But I can tell you this. Every large city has its fair share of rumors and urban legends. Every city has its ghost stories, like the one at S station. Oh, like the one at S station. I hear S, another friend of a friend saw him once. The story goes like this. S is in the city for a night out, and he's stumbling. Of course he'd been drinking, you know how these stories go. Down onto platform 8. He's hazily waiting for his train home when he sees a figure across the station beyond the rails on platform 10. This man, wearing beige overalls and a hard hat, doesn't look that out of place in a station that's often got construction going on, except that the fact he's soaking wet. His clothes, his hair, everything, as if he'd fallen into the river behind the fence. There's something haggard about the way he stands. The man is turning his back to S, and S doesn't know why he thinks this, but he absently, drunkenly thinks, this guy doesn't have a face. Then the train arrives and S gets on, still staring at the man through the windows as it departs the station a few minutes later. The train curves slightly, giving S the perfect angle to catch a glance at the man's face. Then the man turns his head the other way. Jesus. There are other stories. There are always other stories. In my early teens, I went to a school in the inner city. And there, too, rumors ran wild about classmates and people from other schools, of course, but also the school building itself and its many underground levels. Why would a school need so many underground levels? My high school was around... When the fuck was it built? It was something stupid. I think the original building of my high school was built in 1920, No, it was 19 like 15 or 18, like during World War One, if I remember correctly. And like it's been rebuilt. Well, I mean, you know how it is. You renovate or you add another part and then another building, another tower, and then you demolish the old one and you build something else there, right? And it's just been going on to this day. And anyway, the point is, during World War II, and then leading into like, the 60s with the Cold War and all that shit. Point is, my school, and like everyone fucking knew it. Everyone, like people who like had like who like took janitor jobs, right? Seniors who had like janitor jobs after school would like go in there, right? It's like a open secret that there were like bomb bunkers and tunnels and shit underground at our high school. I believe the door to them was like, it was in the auditorium. I believe the door to the tunnels was in the auditorium. Yes, they were because it was a door like under the stage in the auditorium. It led to like this weird like little like nothing room, and then to there was like a big fuck off like industrial door that led into like the bomb shelter, right? And like the little tunnels underneath with like food and shit. Just in case the fucking Nazis did like a blitzkrieg, or like the Imperial Japanese, or like God forbid like nuclear winter happened and you were at school, you could go in there and die. It's just, and sadly, the year that I graduated, they took down that wing of the building, like the old auditorium and the old gym and stuff. So I don't think those tunnels exist anymore, and if they do, they're probably just still underground and they're just sealed now. I just felt like that was a fitting anecdote, right, for why the school needs so many underground levels. Maybe, I mean, maybe not so many underground levels, like floors and floors of it, but still. One day, some of my classmates went to explore those levels. They said that they followed the dim corridors to eventually reach their goal, a heavy metal door that led directly into the underground railway tunnels. Although, to their disappointment, the door was locked shut. Kind of reminds me of mine. I never, like, went down there and saw it, actually. I don't think so. That's weird, because I was, like, a band kid and shit. I was in the auditorium, like, a lot. Weird that I never bothered to go there. Anyway, the door was locked shut because a few years prior, another group of kids went into those tunnels, and one of them got caught trying to go back to his own a few days... on his own a few days after their risky but unnoticed first escapade. He wanted to go back on his own because of the tunnel exit, he said. He had to know. This tunnel exit went downwards, deeper underground instead of upwards to the surface like a tunnel exit is supposed to do. He had to know. Shit, yeah, I guess they are like arteries and veins and shit just all under your feet. Damn, it would be a shame if we, like, used more of them. The city's underground railway system was built in the 70s. It cost a lot of time and money. It cost a few lives, too. Looking into the public archives will tell you as much, but people tend to care more about the time and the money. It had been a long time in the making. The first underground railway plans dating back from the late 1920s, but it'd be 40 years until they actually decide on plans and start building it. Add 12 years of digging, hollowing out, burrowing, building, and eventually, in 1985, in late May of 1985, after completing the last station, which had given the workers most trouble, the biggest construction project in the history of the city at the time is complete. It's easy to think of a giant, buried structure as something that has always been there. In the dark, you don't see the cracks in the concrete, only the perfect curved shape of the tunnel overhead. It's easy to forget that people made it. blood, sweat, piss, the entrails, the human touch. Oh man, look at this shit. Underground structures have this sort of contradictory, like, grand scale to them, but they're also incredibly tight feeling. Maybe that is just like once you understand like how much rock is above you and below you. Right, but you see tunnels like this, there's like fucking big ass like fire trucks and construction equipment that are like just in here. Right. And like so many people can fit down here, but also when you're in there, they feel constricted. Maybe it's just an effect of like the staler air. Right, or something, or just something like that. But they have stuff like this has always had like a strange, like off-putting nature to it. There's also the fact that it's underground. It's like completely invisible. If you're down here, you might as well be fucking invisible. Like, if we're sticking to the comparison to organs and entrails, then like when you look at a person, right, even if they're like fucking like naked in front of you, right, if you stare at yourself in the mirror, you don't see your organs inside of you, but they're there and they're like you, like your organs are you, right? They make up you, they support you, but they're like there in almost perfect darkness in like this wet, hot chamber inside of you, like your abdomen and shit, right? I think that so many big things occur inside of you in such a like a tight, constricted space. You're telling me everything. It's weird to put into words. And they literally, the organ inside of you literally do make your blood, sweat, and piss. It's, holy shit. And you get shit like these gigantic like borers, right? That just they look like nonsensical, like eldritch machines, right? With these gigantic like spinning circular drill heads, with like big fucking like wheel, like these big fucking like turbines and wheels just in the inside, meant to just like grind and pulverize rock and just literally push through shit. I mean, because what, like, how else do you dig through a thing except for just pushing through it? 900,000 cubic meters of earth excavated. 300,000 cubic meters of concrete poured in. Seems like no one really knows exactly how many people in total worked under the city to dig and connect all these tunnels together. Being a contractor will do that to you. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just have to get it done. Lots of hard work for little acknowledgement. All you can do is tell stories of when you worked under the city to dig and connect all these tunnels together. You've heard this one before. You were contracted to go underground. Holy shit. Alright, I just have to like stare down into fucking... stare down into the abyss for a second. God, that is beautiful. and very much. Again, it's that conflicting feeling of being cramped in such a giant place. On the afternoon of February 17th, 1972, 75 millimeters of rain poured over the city in about 20 minutes, flooding the central arteries almost immediately. The downpour caught everyone by surprise, including the team of workers working in the tunnels underneath the city. The floodwaters, with nowhere else to go, engulfed the site. Everyone miraculously survived with just small injuries. Everyone except one, who, according to multiple eyewitnesses, including a friend's uncle, got swept away by the heavy current, a desperate yell faintly heard among the loud rumble of the water against the tunnel's walls. After a head count, it turned out that everyone in the team was accounted for, clearly spelling out in everyone's mind the question of who the man in the water could have been. Holy shit. I assume that was the, supposedly was a drenched man in the rail tunnel. Could be an urban legend. Could be. Who knows? They never found the body, instead finding a large vertical hole in a cavity off to the side of the tunnel, presumably where all that water went, and presumably the body. When a rock was dropped into the hole to see just how deep it went, it took an uncomfortably long time for the splash to make itself heard, the sound reverberating against the perfect curves of the cavity. You wait with your fellow men, cooped up by dozens at the edge of the abyss as the rock falls deeper and deeper into the dark. It must just be the low light, the water and tiredness. You swear you can see the tunnel walls pulsating. The splash never comes. Holy fuck. Never comes. What the fuck? But it's... According to my friend's uncle, another team came and did works on that hole. For some reason adding some type of stair or ladder on its walls in a futile attempt to reach its bottom. That's what he thought was going on anyway. What he and his team were asked to do was to build a tunnel exit that led to the strange chamber the floodwaters had carved out. Oh, what to do without much explanation as to why. Was to build a large tunnel exit that led to the strange chamber the floodwaters had carved out. This exit was to be unmarked. The unmarked exit is said to be found in the tunnel between M station and P station. You probably guessed it. Not too far away from my old school. It's not hidden either. An emergency exit is meant to be seen in the dark. It glows in the tunnel, and when you're on the train heading clockwise and stand on the right side of the carriage looking out, you may catch a glimpse of it for a split second. I see it every day. But... why? The path for the new big railway tunnel, the big build, the new big railway tunnel that will make the trains run even more on time. The new big tunnel that will swallow us up all intersects perfectly with where this abyss is said to be. Line and its tunnel are set to open in 2025. Christ, make a more ominous railway tunnel. That's not a page number. Oh, what the fuck is that? I don't like this. I'm in the train heading clockwise. I lean onto the window of the right side of the carriage and stare at the glowing maw. The city hums low. Bro. Okay. A little bit different than what I usually do. But that was Cycle. Or, well, that was maybe the start of Cycle. This is incredibly atmospheric. This is definitely more of an atmospheric kind of experience. It's a literary thing. And obviously it focuses a lot on this sort of feeling of like structure. The kind of things that I probably should say at the end are more scattered throughout the video. With the whole, like, comparing it to organs and structure and all that sort of shit. They also put a lot of focusing on, like, the blood and sweat and piss. Right, that goes into making these sort of structures. It's I mean, yeah, you're right. I touched on it a little bit, but when these giant megaliths of whatever you want, right, are under you, everything big is invisible, including the people who make the damn things. You know, a lot of people just get swallowed up by the earth in whatever accident happens. It's people die making this shit. And, like, people just get forgotten. I mean, someone literally was drowned. This, like, weird ghost guy drowned, right? And like a scary ass, like, flash flood was carried down this, like, bottomless cave pit. And just was never even, like, looked for. They did a head count and they went, okay, back to work, everybody. The splash never came. How fucking far down does it go? There could be a lot of cycles here, right? Like how the grandfather with the examine the grandfather angle. No, the repeated like, you're contracted to go underground, right? It's like you're contracted to go underground. You work. They did a little bit of like the cycle of toil, right? You know, all you do is you wake up, you dig a fucking tunnel, you almost die, you come back, you go to sleep, you do the same thing again. Right, that's a cycle. That's a cycle within the cycle of being contracted to go underground and dig these big ass train tunnels. Right? And you could extend that to like the cycles of, that's another work cycle within a work cycle within a work cycle. You could say, oh, people use the trains for whatever they want. I feel like, to go with the theme of cycles, people, especially, this was written, I assume, in a European country, because they use, you know, centimeters and all that shit. People actually use public transit. You know, people in places with actual good subway connections, they use their subways, they use their underground trains to go to work in school usually, right? And that's like another cyclical thing. The author says that every day they see the exit, this weird emergency exit connected to their school, right? Or their schools like emergency exit tunnels, which for some reason leads to that giant fuck-ass hole. Why? That's just like a complete... It's because, you know, it wasn't disclosed. You know, it was said the exit was not to be disclosed, and they were never given a reason why. The chamber leading to that hole was to be built anyway and marked as an exit. Who fucking knows? Maybe they use it as like a garbage disposal or something, because the splash never comes. They were just like dumping shit into somewhere we don't know where the bottom is. It's... Obviously, there's a lot of cycles going on here. Cycle of contract, cycle of work, the cycle of death. That was another thing it said. After all that blood, sweat, and piss and all the people who died making this shit, the intros were finally satiated. As in, like the costs of building some of these things that support a bigger whole is to... You need to, like, sacrifice, right, to do it. And this shit will just keep happening. I mean, we're in, like, an urban setting. There's always going to be need for, like, a tunnel extension. There's always going to be need for new branches. There's like a new village over this way. We need a connection over here. Oh, well, we're going to, you know, expand this housing program over here. We're going to build like so many new houses or tenements or whatever. We need to extend this thing here. That's more tunnels. That's more contracts. That's more blood. That's more sweat. That's more piss. That's more everything, including these deaths and these big holes that are so much bigger than anything that we could make, right, with our perfectly smooth tunnels. You know, this flood water carved out like this ancient... There's a lot to process here, right? And it was beautifully written. The interaction here of clicking the little highlights giving more... It feels more and more filtered, like a person is talking, right? Speaking... It feels... The storytelling here feels very oral. In the sense of, like... When things that might demand more explanation or context, like... Oh, you know, who's this? Oh, it's a friend of a friend. Oh, well, she's more of a friend of a friend. You know, stuff like that. They feel like things that people would get stuck on as they speak. It was written very well, very naturally. The styling in this... I assume this is dithering. Whatever dithering algorithm this author put these pictures into. Number one, they're perfectly thematically accurate, and two, they look beautiful by themselves. It's the only thing that is missing here is just an element of sound, right? I assume that when I put this in the editor, I'm going to put some kind of ambience in the background, because I'm really quite chuffed. You know, I love it when I can walk away from a thing being like, I just ate like a full meal. You know, I'm not like full. I'm not like completely overstimulated. I'm like, oh, I ate too much pizza. You know, I walk away from this and I'm like, damn, I feel like I just ate a full, like, rounded meal. And that's like honestly one of the best kind of feelings in the world. Maybe someone's building my intros. In any case, thank you all so much for sitting here and letting me read to you a very interesting visual novel here. I really did hope you enjoy as much as I did. This is very stimulating. If I wanted to be a dick about it. But no, thank you all so much for watching. Please consider doing all that stupid YouTube stuff, like commenting, subscribe, blah blah blah. You know, it really does help me out a lot. Helps my stuff reach more people, and you can always undo it later if you want. Thank you all very much for watching, and mind the gap. Take the train. Don't let it swallow you.